TV, Nashville.
This is NBC Nightly News. With John Chancellor in New York, David Brinkley in Washington, and tonight segment 3, part 2 of a 5-part series, Salt and the Arms Race.
Good evening. The President asked Congress for a new national health plan. It would guarantee, among much else, that no family would ever have to pay medical bills above $2,500 a year. And it would guarantee all pregnant women free care and free delivery and free care for their babies in the first year. For employed people, this would be paid by insurance, with at least 3/4 of the insurance premiums paid by employers. For the poor, as now, would be covered by Medicare and Medicaid, and these programs would be combined into a huge new program called health care. 2 reports.
President Carter's national health plan has something for everyone, but is short of the full coverage advocated by Senator Edward Kennedy. Kennedy was not among the congressional leaders assembled to endorse the Carter plan, and to hear the president take a swing at the ideas behind the Kennedy plan.
The idea of all or nothing has been pursued now for almost 3 decades. But I must say in all candor that no child of poverty, no elderly American, no middle-class family has yet benefited from a rigid and unswerving commitment to this principle of all or nothing.
The Carter plan provides protection from the cost of catastrophic illness or accident for all Americans, mother and child care from before birth through age 1, blanket coverage for 16 million more poor people, the combining of Medicare and Medicaid into one federal program called health care. Health Education and Welfare Secretary Joseph Califano says this is just phase 1 of what will be universal health care, but it's all Congress and the budget can stand for now.
There's no more chance of passing a total one-shot national health plan on the basis of my consultations than there is of putting an elephant through a keyhole.
Those congressional leaders who support the health plan hope they can get it through Congress this year more or less intact. If they do, it will go into effect in 1983 at a cost of $166 billion a year. That's $18 billion a year, more than is now being spent on health care. Steve Delaney, NBC News, the White House.
Kennedy said the president's plan is well-intentioned but otherwise generally appalling, in his opinion, because it has inadequate cost controls and because it sets up a public plan for the poor and elderly but a private plan for everyone else.
The bottom line on the president's program is that we cannot afford it. It is too inflationary and too inequitable. By failing to set a national budget, by inadequately controlling hospital costs, by failing to control doctors' fees in the private sector, by perpetuating 2 separate and unequal systems of care, the president's plan may well become the straw that breaks the back of the American healthcare system.
Kennedy will not back away from this confrontation with the president, even if it gives momentum to the Dump Carter movement, sometimes called the Draft Kennedy movement. Tom Pettit, NBC News at the Capitol.
On another subject, last night we heard an official of the Federal Trade Commission complaining that the Department of Energy would not share its figures on gasoline supplies. But today, the Deputy Secretary of Energy said his department had never had a request from the FTC. Everyone is now confused.
Don't you usually fly United?
Yeah, well, you know, they're
back.
They're back?
And they're passing out half-fare coupons.
Coupons? Half-fare?
Every time you fly United till June 17th, you get a half-fare coupon on board.
Every time?
Use them for half-off regular fare on round trips till December 15th.
I never heard of it.
Even if you've got a ticket on another airline, we'll take it and still give you a half-fare coupon.
Friendly skies, I'm coming home.
Fly the friendly skies.
You really did miss me.
Sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Almond Joy's got nuts, ounce don't. Almond Joy's got rich milk chocolate, munchy nuts and coconut too. Mine's got deep dark chocolate and chewy coconut. Ooh, sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't. Peter Paul, Almond Joy's got nuts. Peter Paul, Almonds don't. Because sometimes you feel like a nut, sometimes you don't.
Senator Herman Talmadge of Georgia, accused of financial misconduct, sat in the hearing room today and listened to his ex-wife testify about his money. cash in $100 bills, she said, as much as $40,000, always kept in the pocket of an overcoat hanging in the hall closet. She dipped into it when she needed cash, she said, and this went on for years. She didn't know where the money came from. Here's James Polk.
Senator Herman Talmadge walked over and shook hands with his former wife, then listened as Betty Talmadge testified he had kept cash hidden around their home ever since he was governor of Georgia 30 years ago. She said it was a way of life. Television cameras were barred as Mrs. Talmadge testified that after an argument 5 years ago, she went to their Washington apartment and removed part of the cash that she said Talmadge kept in the pocket of an overcoat in a bedroom closet. The Senate Ethics Committee lawyer handed her $7,700 in $100 bills. She identified that as what she had left over from the money she took, money that she said had been stuffed in a U.S. Senate envelope bearing Talmadge's official signature. Betty Talmadge said she took about $12,000 to $15,000 that day and said that was only a third of what Talmadge had hidden in the coat pocket, perhaps as much as $40,000 in all. Experts using serial numbers said the cash she took had been put in circulation at a Houston bank 8 years ago, but they couldn't trace it any further. Betty Talmadge said she didn't know how the money got to her husband. Talmadge would not comment on the cash in his coat. He is expected to testify sometime next week. James Polk, NBC News at the Capitol.
60 Americans, most of them women and children, were flown out of Nicaragua today as the fighting intensified in Managua, the capital. Most are the dependents of American embassy employees. A big American Air Force transport from Panama took them out from an airstrip just outside Managua. Ike Siemens has more on that and on the fighting.
Near the United States Embassy this morning, government troops continued to fight Sandinista guerrillas. Anyone caught in the gunfire ran for cover. A short time before, 60 Americans left the embassy to board an Air Force plane that would take them out. Nicaraguans were not so lucky. Throughout Managua, refugees fled with whatever they could manage, trying to get away from the fighting.
I'm in a barrio here in Managua. This is a poor section of the city, and it is in places like this that fighting has been going on for more than a week.
Guerrillas are hiding everywhere in the city as the National Guard moves in to try to find them. The shooting is so constant that most have learned to live with it. Everyone here has been affected by the Sandinista uprising. This woman says how horrible all this is, and her family is afraid. They have moved in with a friend because she says the Sandinistas burned their home. Now the fighting has found them again. When will it end, she asks. The fighting and destruction are now closer than ever to the fortified compound from which President Anastasio Somoza directs his troops against the Sandinista guerrillas. Ike Siemens, NBC News, Managua.
A man from California with a good set of leg and knee muscles crossed the English Channel in a tiny, lightweight airplane powered only by his pushing bicycle pedals to turn the propeller, England to France. Brian Allen, 26, he made it in less than 3 hours, flying 9 or 10 miles an hour, in a plane called a Gossamer Albatross, a flimsy contraction weighing about 70 pounds. It was a first. Considering the difficulty, it may be a last. Here's Steve Mallory on the French coast.
Most people thought it couldn't be done. That 70 pounds of fragile synthetic fiber and a 137-pound cyclist just couldn't fly 22 miles across the English Channel. But as Brian Allen easily pedaled away from Folkestone, England, he suddenly seemed to have a good chance.
That was the neatest part of the whole flight, to just see the surf and the breakers, and suddenly, it just goes, wow,
During the first third of the flight, the Albatross averaged about 9 miles an hour. Then, Allen encountered a mild headwind that slowed his pace. The Albatross came dangerously close to the water.
We had very good luck. We had to make a very minor course correction to go around a super tanker, but that really didn't affect us at all.
Below in the channel, a small flotilla loaded with support and rescue crews and journalists followed his progress. After about 2 hours, the French coast could be seen through the haze. The flight was taking longer than expected. Allen said that during the last 20 minutes, he was troubled with leg cramps. As he approached the rocky French coast, he knew the last few minutes would be the toughest.
Well, I was a little scared there for a sec because there was some pretty radical turbulence. Radical for this plane anyway.
Almost 100 people surrounded the aircraft as it touched down. Brian Allen had become the first person to use muscle power to fly across the English Channel. When asked about his historical significance, he was matter-of-fact.
Right now I view myself as pretty tired.
The flight of the Gossamer Albatross won a $200,000 prize from the British Aeronautical Society. The 2 3/4-hour pedal power flight earned about $1,200 a minute. Steve Mallory, NBC News, Cap Grenade, France.
Come on, please.
I can tell by the happy mood you're in, by that ever-widening grin. You look like you just heard from Dean Witter.
At Dean Witter, your investment program is designed around you and no one else, so you can't help smiling when you hear from us.
You look like you just heard from Dean Witter. You look like...
Sambo's declares war on the high cost of breakfast with a $1.69 special breakfast.
Oh, $1.69 for all that food?
$1.69. 2 eggs, sausage, hash browns, toast.
All for $1.69?
$1.69. Win the war against the high cost of breakfast at Sambo's.
$1.69. $1.69. I win.
Mercine crystals power off plaque to leave dentures 5.5 times cleaner than the leading tablet.
What's plaque?
These are magnified sections of real dentures dyed to show how much plaque builds up in only 24 hours. This bacterial film plaque results in odor and stains. See, plaque resists tablets, but Mercine powers off this plaque to leave dentures 5.5 times cleaner than the leading tablets.
Mercine.
Mercine powers off plaque to leave dentures
5.5 times cleaner.
Joni and me, we have good friends and we have great times together. But you know, the times we like best are the times we spend with just the two of us.
Well, we really enjoy being together, and we take good care of ourselves. And that's why I take Geritol every day, to be sure I get enough iron and vitamins.
Geritol, more than double the iron you get from any ordinary supplement, and some very important vitamins.
My Joni, isn't she something?
Geritol, every day.
Public opinion polls have shown this year that the American people believe the Russians are likely to cheat on the SALT II treaty limiting nuclear weapons. This is a widely held belief, despite the fact that officials in a position to know, including former Secretary of State Kissinger, say the Russians did not cheat in any meaningful way on the first SALT treaty. In any case, verification of the treaty will be one of the key issues in the Senate debate on the treaty, and we've asked Ford Rowan to look into the whole business.
What if the Russians cheat? Suppose they build bigger and better weapons than allowed by SALT. Would the United States find out? The United States relies on space satellites and other electronic monitors to watch what the Soviets are doing. Pictures from spy-in-the-sky satellites are secret and much more detailed and revealing than these unclassified photographs. But the secrets have been compromised. In 2 espionage cases, the Russians bought information about 3 satellite systems: Keyhole, which takes photographs; Rhyolite, which listens to missile telemetry; and Argus, which monitors radio transmissions. But the biggest problems started back on Earth, in Iran, when the U.S. was forced to close down monitoring stations near the Soviet border. A major loss, according to the former head of Air Force Intelligence.
The SALT Treaty, as I presently understand it, cannot in any way be verified. The assumptions and public statements made by this administration regarding verification, in my best judgment, are fraudulent and so intended to deceive the American people.
The new SALT Treaty would limit the development of new and bigger missiles, as well as the number of multiple warheads, MIRVs, that can be placed on missiles. When the Russians launch a missile at their test site in Turatam, American infrared satellites pick up the heat of the rocket engines. The 2 Iranian listening posts are missed at this point because they had a clear look at the test site and the early stages of flight. But as the missile gains altitude, it is monitored by radar stations farther away in Turkey, by other satellites, and as it nears the Pacific, by ships and radar stations in Alaska. Former CIA officer Herbert Scoville says these downrange monitors can check to see if the Soviets have violated SALT limits on MIRVs.
I'm absolutely certain we can verify the SALT II agreement as it is now written. Not only do we have all these capabilities, but the SALT II agreement has specifically written into it a large number of provisions which facilitate verification, which actually will improve our intelligence over what we have today.
To improve intelligence, the administration has ordered a crash program to use such things as U-2 spy planes along the Soviet border to make up for the loss of the Iranian bases. But some say it would not be enough to compensate for the losses in Iran.
I think it's fraudulent for the administration to come forward and try to give the American people the impression that you can replace those capabilities. Those capabilities gave us a 24-hour watch with all sorts of sensors over the two most important facilities in the Soviet Union for verification.
CIA Director Stansfield Turner has angered some leaders in the administration by conceding that it would take 5 years before the CIA recovered the capabilities lost in Iran. Furthermore, Turner says there's no way he can be certain SALT can be verified. Is SALT worth the risk the Russians will cheat? In a recent speech, Turner said he'd leave that up to the president and his advisors.
Policymaker must also say, in view of the fact Turner hasn't got 101% assurance on any of these things, are the risks to our country worth it? Are the benefits of having these controls worth whatever degree of possibility there is from the monitoring evaluation that it could be circumscribed or circumvented or whatever the right word is? Cheat.
President Carter and Defense Secretary Brown have insisted that the United States will have the ability to adequately verify Soviet actions under the SALT agreement. They argue that without SALT and its rules forbidding concealment, it would be even harder to find out what the Soviets were doing. Ford Rowan, NBC News, Washington.
Senator Henry Jackson released the text of a speech today in which he mounts a very tough attack on the Carter administration's stand on the SALT treaty. The White House is saying that if the Senate votes amendments and changes to the treaty, that will force the Soviets into new demands which could kill the treaty. Jackson, in his speech of today, says that attitude is appeasement, his word, ominously reminiscent, he says, of statements made by an unprepared British government as Adolf Hitler prepared for war.
Am I lucky? I have a normal, healthy American family. There they are. When we have a health problem, like occasional constipation, we like to do something about it. We take something gentle, X-Lax. We know it's safe. We take it just the way it says to. We learned years ago that X-Lax works gently. So when we need it, we take X-Lax. Don't you?
Dependable X-Lax, the laxative medicine.
Today, a lot of you men are cheating your wives, and you don't even realize it. Take my husband. Every morning, he puts on Old Spice. It's such a turn-on. And he's off to share it with everybody but me. Why can't he use Old Spice when we're together at night? Maybe he needs a little hint.
Oh, hi, Hattie.
Hi.
Old Spice at night. What a great idea for both of us.
Old Spice. Share it with someone you love tonight. The new Kodak Colorburst 50 Instant Camera and the end of the season.
You can feel it.
I'm gonna miss you, Willie.
When it happens. Suddenly.
Give him a smile.
Suddenly you see a smile closer than you've ever been before.
Introducing the easiest color burst ever. Just aim and shoot. Come see instant photography with the confidence of Color by Kodak.
Your turn, Willie.
The more you take, the more you give.
Last night, a big jetliner was hijacked to Cuba, the first such hijacking in more than 4 years. The plane with 206 people aboard was on its way from New York to Fort Lauderdale when a bearded man in a green army shirt entered the cockpit and took the plane over. It landed in Havana. Today, it returned to Miami with 205 people. The Cubans put the hijacker in handcuffs and led him away. Sandy Gilmore was in Miami when Delta Flight 1061 returned.
They'd spent 5 hours in Cuba, and early this morning, passengers were weary but all right. Passenger Judith Cyranak said the Cubans were nice.
We were very well treated. Everyone was polite. They opened up the bar and the bank, and we bought beers and just sat for 4 hours.
And 9-year-old Bob Weskowitz said nobody panicked.
On the plane, I heard that there was a hijack, so I did what they did, and I just kept calm.
Captain Vince Doda cheerfully brushed aside questioners, even though the hijacker had threatened the first officer and claimed he had a knife as well as a bomb in his duffel bag. Today, the State Department tentatively identified the hijacker as the man who used this Soviet-made MiG-17 to defect from Cuba to the United States in 1969. 37-year-old Eduardo Guerra Jimenez lived under political asylum in the U.S., but said he couldn't get a job. He was arrested for selling marijuana, convicted of robbery, jailed for driving a taxi cab into a New York fireman. In 1976, he told a judge he wanted to go home. Last night, as crew members and passengers came home to the U.S., Eduardo Guerra was back in his homeland. His fate lies now with Fidel Castro. Sandy Gilmore, NBC News, Miami.
Briefly today, in Strasbourg, France, European aviation leaders argued at a meeting about grounding their DC-10s or keeping them flying. France and others wanted to go on flying them. Germany and Britain wanted them grounded until the investigations are finished. No agreement yet. In New York, Pan American Airways said it would accept the half-fare coupons being given out by its competitors, United and American, which may not be exactly what United and American had in mind. Pan American also announced a coast-to-coast standby fare of $89. In Boston, the first gasoline station operator arrested for overcharging. Glenn Heller of the Beacon Hill Gulf, accused of charging $1.42.9 for unleaded, 55 cents above the legally allowable price. John?
And finally this evening, the obituary of John Wayne, who died of cancer last night, aged 72. Don Oliver has put together some of the high points of Wayne's memorable and distinguished career.
Wonder what all the shooting's about? I don't know. We better find out.
And that's just what John Wayne did through 45 years of movie making. Always trying to find out what the shooting was all about, and always coming out on the winning side. A young man named Miriam Michael Morrison was a student at USC in the late 20s when he found out he could make a few dollars in the movies. The studios gave him the name John Wayne, and for the next 10 years he played in a succession of what they called 2.5-day odors, westerns made quickly and badly. In 1939, Wayne was hired by director John Ford. The part of the Ringo Kid made him a star. Wayne became the tough guy's tough guy, the Duke, hot-tempered, violent, his swagger his trademark.
Mr. Dunson, I'll say it just one more time.
Wayne once admitted that he played pretty much the same character in all his films, be they cowboy or war movies. He said that's what the public wanted. In his later years, he railed against movie pornography and blood-spurting violence. His violence, he said, was always tempered with humor. And as for sex in the movies, if it was healthy and lusty, Wayne thought it was wonderful.
There'll be no locks or bolts between us, Mary Kate, except those in your own mercenary little heart.
Wayne became a controversial political figure, a hardline conservative, a hawk on the Vietnam War. In 1968, he directed and starred in The Green Berets, which unabashedly endorsed the U.S. war effort in Vietnam. Wayne was criticized, but later when he was asked about it, he never backed down.
Well, I'm happy I made it. I told the truth. There isn't a lie in the picture.
Wayne's first bout with cancer was in 1964. He lost a lung then, but he came back to make more movies, including the one that finally won him the honor for which he had waited so long.
Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
The Academy Award for the Best Actor, 1969.
If I'd have known that, I'd have put that patch on 35 years earlier.
Morning, sir. Morning. This is my birthday. Give me the best in the house.
The Duke's last movie. He played an aging gunfighter dying of cancer. Wayne said he did not regard it as autobiographical.
You know, about 2 weeks ago, they were...
After open heart surgery in 1978, Wayne flew back to California intent on making more movies, but he never really regained his strength. There were only a few commercials shown in California, commercials that were still on TV after Wayne entered the hospital for the last time. Millions of Americans will remember John Wayne for this, his last public appearance, the 1979 Academy Awards.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That's just about the only medicine a fella'd ever really need.
John Wayne, dead at 72.
NBC News will present a special half-hour television special tonight on John Wayne at 11:30, 10:30 Central Time. That's our report this evening. Good night from New York.
And from Washington, thank you, and good night for all of us at NBC News.
What are you doing, Fred? Putting Olympic latex stain on the house. Stain over paint? Hey, Pete, Fred's putting stain over paint. Stain over paint? George, Fred's putting stain over paint. Watch Olympic latex stain cover. Rich, mellow color. Hey. Cleans up in water, and it lasts for years. What's that stain, Fred? Olympic latex stain. It lets you stain over paint. Beautiful.
Whoa! Look at there! Munro's giving away $10. Just go to any participating dealer before June 30, make your best deal on full Radiomatic or Monroe Magnum 60 shots, and he'll give you $10. Let's get some and celebrate. Yes, sir, that's quite a deal. That'll be $10. Sticks. Better get 4 more shocks.
Tomorrow morning on Today, HEW Secretary Joseph Califano and Senator Edward Kennedy in separate interviews on President Carter's National Health Plan.
A tortured home life turns a young girl into a desperate fugitive on the runaways. Then, a mysterious killer prowls the decks of a luxury liner.
He's dead.
Claude Akins, Frank Converse, and Patty Duke Aston star.
The man aboard this ship is dead!
The Runaways, followed by Killer on Board, tonight.
Now, Estee Lauder and today's technology bring you an important makeup achievement. Polished Performance Liquid Makeup. It gives you more than a polished look. It gives you incredible performance with a protein moisture complex, with a sunscreen, with sheer color that holds its color. Today, a liquid makeup should do everything Estee Lauder's Polished Performance does. Does yours?